Boracay Island is once again open to the public after a 6-month closure. Along with the reopening, the government's rehabilitation efforts on the island continues. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
Tourists can once again enjoy the beauty of Boracay starting today as several cabinet members of President Rodrigo Duterte led the opening of the island after its 6-month closure. On February 9, President Rodrigo Duterte announced in a business forum that Boracay Island is close to being a septic tank and was in the brink of destruction if the government will not take action.
I will close Boracay. Boracay is a cesspool. But you go into the water, it's smelly. Smell of what? Shit.
Fast forward to today, this is how the crown jewel of Philippine tourism now looks like. Presidential spokesman Salvador Panelo said the president is happy with the rehabilitation of Boracay.
He's very pleased of what has happened in Boracay. Definitely, the president in fact has commended the secretaries of the task force for the evolution and the development of this place.
Aklan Governor Florencio Miraflores and the representative of the compliant establishments expressed gratitude over the result of the rehabilitation effort on the island. Environment Secretary Roy Simatu led the swearing-in of the 32 environmental warriors and the Kalikasan volunteers who will help in the implementation of environmental laws applicable on the island. Also inaugurated today was the Cagban Road that serves as the island's major thoroughfare. DPWH Secretary Mark Villar said they have accomplished 80% of the Phase 1 of road concreting, which made the roads wider now compared to that in April.
At this point, we're at 80%, and we will complete even the sidewalk, everything, the finishings, by the first week of December.
Villar also said that the DPWH road construction works continue. Authorities also inaugurated the new icon of Boracay in Cagban Port that will welcome guests to the island. Meanwhile, the Boracay Task Force reiterates that they will not allow any casinos to operate in Boracay. Even the casinos that previously operated in the island had been ordered closed by the task force.
So we can say to all of you, no casino is now existing in Boracay Island.
Even with the reopening of Boracay, the task force announced that the rehabilitation efforts on the island will continue for another 1.5 years. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay.
Meanwhile, only less than 1/2 of the total number of hotels and establishments in Boracay were permitted by the Boracay Interagency Task Force to operate on the opening day of the island to accommodate tourists. Some hotel owners are complaining about the waiver they were made to sign before the opening of the island. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
Only 100 plus of more than 400 hotels and inns on Boracay Island were permitted to accept bookings in connection with the opening of the island today after undergoing the 6-month rehabilitation. The government has given accreditation to 157 hotels and inns which are able to secure permits after submitting themselves to environmental laws on construction and sewage systems. Hotels which are not accredited are expected to demolish the structures that they illegally built, such as those within the 30 meters from the shore, or they will be at risk of being closed for good. Several hotel owners also complained of a waiver they were told to sign before the opening. One of them is Elma, who opened her hotel a month before President Duterte's order of Boracay closure. She said she has all the necessary permits to reopen. But if she will not sign the waiver, she will risk having her property getting demolished in the future due to its proximity to the road.
Yung lupa ko, parang inano ko na, parang suicide na yun sa akin. Dahil hindi na yung akin. Parang binigay ko na yun sa gobyerno lahat. Paano namang ako? Sa 24 years na tinabahuan ko sa Europe, tapos ginawa ako ng paraan para lang mabuhay ko din ang aking pamilya. Tapos ito ang mangyayari.
But the Department of Environment and Natural Resources said the government has always owned Boracay and insisted that the signing of the waiver is not a case of land grabbing.
Yung undertaking is if in case in the future kailanganin ng gobyerno yung kalyeng yan, you will post no objection on that, na ibibigay mo yan dahil yan ay talagang sa gobyerno. Ngayon kung hindi ka papayag, then di rin namin papayagan na makapagbukas ka. Dahil yan, dapat sa gobyerno yan. Yun. Hindi po inaagaw yung lupa nila. Sinisiguro lang ng gobyerno na kung ano ang para sa tao ay kailangan sa tao, hindi sa iilang negosyante lang.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue.
Manila and Manila Water will finally implement the approved water rate hike this month following their decision to suspend the case they filed before the arbitral court. Let's find out why from Mon Hokson.
Customers of Manila and Manila Water will be paying more starting this month as the two concessionaires finally implement the approved water rate hike. The Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System or MWSS says Manila and Manila Water decided to suspend their plan to pursue the case before the arbitral tribunal.
Both parties are talking right now and have agreed in principle to temporarily suspend the arbitration case.
It was last week when the MWSS announced their plan to suspend the implementation of the water rate hike. This is due to the dispute notice issued by Maynilad to the regulatory body.
Hindi po pwede i-pass on ang income tax sa publiko dahil ito po ay hindi kasama sa business tax. Ayon sa concession agreement, only business tax is recoverable. So hindi po kasama ang income tax sa business tax.
In the approved rate hike, Manila and Manila Water will charge the consumers of around 6 pesos. MWSS ordered the two concessionaires to implement the approved water rate hike in staggered basis for 5 years. The Water for People Network, however, expressed their disapproval on the water rate hike. The group wants to stop the water rate hike because it will add burden to the consumers.
Dadagdag yan sa mga pinoproblema ng mga kabahayan, no? Ng mga households, ng mga pamilya. Kasi nakikita natin na yung presyo ng pagkain tumataas, yung presyo ng langis na mataas ang inabot na, no? Kahit may rollback eh maliit lang. Itong dadagdag pa yung presyo, yung singil sa pasahe tumaas na rin.
The group sent a letter to the MWSS to show their objection on the water rate hike. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
In other news, another round of fuel price rollback is expected next week. Oil industry players estimate that the price of gasoline per liter will go down by 1 peso and 50 centavos, while diesel prices will by 50 to 60 centavos per liter. The price adjustment reflects the slump in oil trading this week. This will be the third consecutive week that a price rollback was implemented by oil firms. A lawmaker wants to scrutinize the mitigating measures of the Department of Energy to resolve the oil price hike in the world market. The senator seeks to probe its strategies regarding the oil exploration, which is expected to help achieve energy self-sufficiency. Nel Maribuhok explains why.
Hindi lang po 3 buwan yung hinihiling natin. Ang hinihiling po natin, tuluyan nang isuspend itong pagtaas ng ating petroleum products. Huwag na po natin makita itong dagdag sa diesel, gasoline at kerosene at lahat ng dinagdag ngayong 2018, kunin na rin po, i-roll back na rin.
Several senators have been continuously calling for the total suspension of the implementation of the fuel excise tax under the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN law. This measure is believed to be the reason behind the high prices of basic commodities in the market. Senate Committee on Energy Chairman Sherwin Gatchalian meanwhile filed a resolution to scrutinize the mandates of the Department of Energy in securing enough supply of energy amid oil price hikes. The senator notes that the country's economy has been severely affected by the skyrocketing global oil prices. The lawmaker insists that the DOE has a mandate to implement policies for energy self-sufficiency and adequate supply of energy. This is by intensifying the oil exploration activities and further development of the country's energy resources. Gatchalian insists that it is necessary to assess the strategies of the department to prevent bigger problems in the future. For the group Laban Consumer, the government should look for measures to expand the exploration in the Malampaya gas field. They believe that the natural gas can be a big help as alternative source of energy for some industries.
May gas na yun i-extend mo para mag-drill pa sila ng additional wells na magpo-produce ng additional gas hanggang meron pa ako.
Last July, price of diesel and gasoline prices increases to 5 peso and 45 centavos and 6 peso and 30 centavos respectively. Also in August, the price per barrel of oil in world market rose to $71.9 US. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
A factory in Moscow City that produces over 1,000 ice cream cones per hour confirms status of the highest located ice cream production line in Russia. Here's why from Robbie de Guzman.
Kistaya Linia, or Clean Line Ice Cream Factory, was awarded a Russia's Book of Records certificate, confirming its status of the highest located ice cream production line on Thursday. High cuisine connoisseurs had a chance to appreciate ice cream made at the 89th floor of one of Moscow City's skyscrapers. Visitors enjoy the stunning views and a variety of free ice cream made right at the Panorama 360 observation deck of Moscow's Federation Tower. The factory produces up to 1,000 ice cream cones per hour and had already produced more than 1 million since its opening in April 2018, according to Artur Shakaryan, the director of the Federation Tower observation deck. Shakaryan also confirmed it was the only ice cream facility in the world located at such a high altitude, which in its turn had caused a few difficulties during its setup.
First of all, it was difficult to lift all the equipment up here. Secondly, we had to find a place for it. Thirdly, there was a lot of equipment that needed to be installed. It's much easier to do everything on the ground rather than at a height of 330 meters.
Judging by the visitors' reaction, the effort was worth it. As one of the ice cream lovers said, eating ice cream on such altitude felt like floating on a cloud.
Besides eating the ice cream, you can also look around, enjoy the view, and feel like you're floating on a cloud.
Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue.
Meanwhile, an official from the United States Department of Agriculture confirms that some of the game fowl that were illegally shipped to the Philippines in early October were from poultry farms infected with the Newcastle disease in Southern California. The official also calls on the Philippine government to hold accountable the broker of the said shipment. Abby Valdez tells us why. Exclusive.
Certifier accredited to the United States Department of Agriculture is calling on the Philippine government to tighten the process of importing agricultural products, especially live poultry. The appeal comes after the Philippine Department of Agriculture seized and killed more than 100 game fowls, which were illegally shipped from California to Manila in early October. In an interview with Dr. Brian Tan, a USDA accredited veterinarian for 30 years now, he confirmed that the said game fowls were from Southern California, where a Newcastle disease outbreak was reported since June this year.
I think it started sometime in June or July this year, and it was banned by USDA, quarantined by USDA sometime in the early part of September as quarantine, as NCD quarantine area. So the quarantine area, the chicken is not allowed to move in and out of that area, but the people keeps on doing that illegally.
Dr. Tan adds that the group behind the transport of quarantined chickens also committed an offense when they changed the shipment's origin.
So it looks like from Northern California, not from the south.
The USDA accredited official also denies he knows a certain Ted Cruz, who introduced himself as a customs broker involved in the shipment.
It's already proven that this guy falsified the document and falsified my signature. Yung Bureau of Animal Industry, tumawag dito sa USDA. Yung mga dokumento pinadala, sinabi ng USDA sa kanila, fake yun. Kaya nagalit ang Bureau of Animal Industry. Hinikpitan ngayon yung pangalawa. Kaya dinalakan ni Fred Cruz, hindi umuobra na. Eh wala na, nandun na eh. Yung pangatlo, pinigin niya. Huwag na i-ship, na-withdraw. Kaya out of 78 crate, 1/3 is naipit, 1/3 na-release, 1/3 nandito pa. Malaking pera yan.
Dr. Tan believes that the Philippine government should go after Ted Cruz to hold him accountable for the incident. He also recommends to Philippine authorities to ramp up the verification process of importation documents to ensure that no unsafe products will reach the borders. Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, California.
The Bureau of Immigration downgrades the missionary visa of Australian nun Patricia Fox to temporary visit pass with a validity of 59 days. Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval says the order dated October 24 was in response to the application of Fox for an extension of her missionary visa. Since Fox's visa already expired on September 5, Fox only has until November 3 to stay in the Philippines under the temporary visitor's visa. The Bureau of Immigration has issued a deportation order against Fox, which she appealed to the Department of Justice. The agency says they need to wait for the resolution on Fox's appeal before they proceed to the deportation process. Fox, an Australian missionary in the Philippines for 27 years, was accused of participating in political activities in the country, a violation of the law for foreign nationals. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier ordered the deportation of Fox for the said reason. Malacanang stated that President Rodrigo Duterte actually had earlier plans to remove former Commissioner Isidro La Peña from the Bureau of Customs and transfer him to TESDA. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Presidential spokesperson and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo said President Rodrigo Duterte had really been wanting to transfer former Customs Commissioner Isidro La Peña to the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA. Panelo said this is to spare La Peña from the intrigues and defamation. La Peña became controversial after the alleged 6.8 billion pesos worth of smuggled shabu shipment through 4 magnetic lifters in August. Yesterday, President Duterte decided to remove La Peña from the Bureau of Customs and appointed him as the new Director General of TESDA. He is replaced by Maritime Industry Authority or Marina Administrator and former Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Ray Leonardo Guerrero.
Now for the General Peña will move to TESDA. I will promote you to a cabinet member position. That's a General Jagger Guerrero. You are to move to the Bureau of Customs.
Of course, any government employee should expect na anytime pwede naman na tayong magkaroon ng mga movement. And for me, this is a movement upward.
Ang sabi niya sa akin, simple lang yung marching order niya. Sabi niya, like when I assumed sa Marina at saka Chief of Staff, sabi niya, just do your job. Bukas, mag-usap muna kami ni General Peña so I can get some pointers and instructions.
President Duterte also removed all commissioners and section chiefs of BOC and placed them on floating status. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Labor groups expect the government to implement towards the end of the year the 60 to 80 peso increase in minimum wages of workers. The Employers Confederation of the Philippines, meanwhile, says the government should implement the price control of goods, especially the basic commodities, to match the current minimum wages of workers. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Though it is far from the expected across-the-board minimum wage increase of 320 pesos, the Associated Labor Unions Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, or ALO-TUCP, expects the wage hike to be implemented before 2018 ends. The group said the approved 60 pesos to 80 pesos increase is somehow far higher than the earlier reported 20 pesos wage hike and could add to the minimum 512 pesos wage of workers.
Kung babasihan nila yung inflation rate, we will get around 50 pesos. Kami nga lang, aasa kami ng mga 60 to 80 pesos. So ang standard natin, 512 pesos plus 344 pesos. That's around 800 pesos plus. So ito yung standard na amount na hininga namin ay manatili sa decenteng pamumuhay ng mga manggagawa.
Meanwhile, Dean Antonio Abad, a member of the Board of Governors of Employers Confederation of the Philippines or ECOP, clarified that they do not agree with the 20 pesos minimum wage hike for workers. According to Abad, the government should implement the price control of goods, especially the basic commodities, to match the current minimum wages of workers so they could sustain their needs.
Hindi ko sinabi na ECOP yun, ako yun. Pero ECOP will depend upon whatever is decided by the board. The cost of living should be lowered. Rising inflation must be addressed by lifting the excise tax. Yun ang dapat mangyari. Supply of rice, vegetables, fish, and other prime commodities must be assured to stabilize the prices. And this can be done only by price control.
After a series of public hearing on labor sector this month, the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board or RTWPB will conduct a deliberation to review the petition of workers. The RTWPB NCR have heard the 320 pesos petition of the ALU-TUCP and the 688 pesos petition of the Association of Minimum Wage Earners and Advocates or AMWEA, but were dismissed by the Wage Board in accordance with the Board Reso No. 2 series of 2018. According to the Wage Board, they will still thoroughly review the petitions since the Wage Board is composed of group of employers and workers too.
Well, deliberation based on the informations given, ipoproseso yan. Hindi na naman ako yan. In fact, in the board, may employers rep, may workers rep. So, deliberation is really tough.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The latest results of the Social Weather Station survey says that 75% of Filipinos believe that the Philippines is on the right track. But despite this, some groups of Moros are still calling to oust President Rodrigo Duterte. Joanne Nano explains why.
Majority of the Filipinos believe that the country is treading the right direction. This was the result of the latest Social Weather Station survey conducted last September 15 to 23 among 1,500 respondents. The survey showed that 75% of the Filipinos are convinced that the country is on the right direction, 5% higher compared to that of last June. 22%, however, say we are in the wrong direction, while 3% have no answer. The most number of Filipinos who believe that we are on the right track come from the Mindanao region, followed by Luzon and Visayas. Metro Manila has recorded the least number. Malacanang says that the result of the new survey is an inspiration and reiterates that this only proves that the public appreciates the policies and programs of the Duterte administration. But one Moro group said they are not convinced that the country is in the right direction. They said the president failed to act on his promises and programs. They claim that their situation has gotten worse since the declaration of martial law in Mindanao. This, they said, prompted them to call for the ouster of President Duterte.
Tapusin na itong rehimen ni Presidente Duterte dahil nagdulot ito ng pasismo, pahirap at pasakit, matinding paglabag sa hanay ng Bangsamoro at katutuwang mamamayan. Kaya kaisa kami sa panawagan ng mamayang Pilipino na patalsikin na ang rehimen ni Presidente Duterte.
Despite of criticisms, Malacanang still calls on all sectors to work hand in hand to be able to meet the President's vision for the Philippines. Joanne Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Philippines will soon generate information and images that will benefit the country's agriculture, natural resources, climate, and navigational security. Here's why from Leslie Langbowen.
The Philippines will launch its second microsatellite Diwata-2 into space on Monday. Secretary Fortunato de la Peña of the Department of Science and Technology will travel to Japan to personally witness the launching of the satellite. The historic release can also be viewed simultaneously live at the University of the Philippines. Secretary de la Peña said government agencies will benefit from the images and information that Diwata-2 will capture, specifically those related to agriculture, natural resources, climate, as well as navigational security, as it can monitor illegal entry of shipping vessels into the country's territory. Diwata 2 is equipped with the latest technology and is able to take images of the Philippines and across the globe as well as an amateur radio unit necessary for emergency or disaster response. The microsatellite will also help in post-assessment of areas affected by calamities.
Diwata 2 will have the capability of being used also for some kind of radio communication, particularly when an emergency arises.
The DOST has already installed ground station in Luzon and will set up similar facilities in Visayas and Mindanao. It was developed by Filipino scientists with the help of experts from the universities in Japan.
I believe that there is more Filipino time devoted to this second one, and there has been, of course, improvements in the sense that they are attaching to the Diwata 2 better versions of the camera.
The government is now pushing for the establishment of the country's own space agency. The DOST hopes that the Congress will approve its proposed budget of 240 million pesos for next year, exclusive for space technology development. It was in March 2016 when the Philippines launched its first microsatellite, Diwata 1. Leslie Lumboman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
It's a do-or-die game for the Ombudsman Graft Busters and Judiciary Magus on Sunday as the elimination rounds of the UNTV Cup Season 7 continue. The GSIS Furies are also gearing up for their upcoming clash against the AFP Cavaliers. Bernard Dadis tells us why.
UNTV Cup fans are in for a heart-stopping match as 6 teams battle for slots in the ongoing elimination rounds of the 7th edition of the Charity Basketball Tournament. Two-time champion Judiciary Magus and the Ombudsman Graftbusters are both in a must-win situation as both have yet to barge into the win column under the Group B. The Magus and Graftbusters' determination to help the league's chosen charities are laudable. Only one of them can stay in the game until the first round eliminations end on November 11. The match between the Judiciary and the Ombudsman are slated to begin at 2 p.m. on Sunday at the Pasig City Sports Center.
Ensayo namin, mag-aralan namin yung Ombudsman at iano namin game plan. Kailangan talagang manalo kami doon eh. Lahat siguro ng lakas ibuhusan namin kung gusto namin pumasok sa second.
The DOJ Justice Boosters are also determined to climb up the Group A rankings as they were only able to win one of their 3 recent games. DOJ players will enter the hard court at 3:30 p.m. to collide with the PITC Global Traders, who remains in high morale after snatching their first win of the season.
Talagang ganun naman sa basketball eh. If you start making your shots, tataas ang kumpiyansa mo. So yun lang siguro yun. We've been working hard naman sa practice eh.
Practice din namin yung yung mga pasahan, yung jelly, yung maramdaman namin yung bawat player. Hopefully sa next game, medyo solid na kami.
The GSIS Furies meanwhile will try to crumble the defense of the still undefeated AFP Cavaliers when they clash in the 3rd game. The AFP remains on Group A top spot while the GSIS languish at the bottom.
Hopefully makapag-practice talaga kami, makakuha kami ng schedule, and then yung mga teammates namin, hopefully din mabakante sila para makapunta sa schedule ng practice namin.
Paghahanda namin, scouting pa rin namin yung ginagawa nila, we'll prepare hard pa rin.
Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with Angelo Castro III. I am William Thio. Good evening.